They called it democracy. But not everyone was invited. In Canada, a country that prides itself on fairness, Indigenous people were denied the right to vote in federal elections until 1960. That's nearly a century after Confederation. But for Indigenous women, the road was even longer and harder. While most Canadian women won the right to vote in 1918, Indigenous women were told you can vote if you give up being Indigenous. Under Canadian law, if a First Nations person wanted to vote federally, they had to give up their legal Indian status, a process called enfranchisement. It meant losing access to their land, culture, community, and identity, just to cast a ballot. It wasn't a right, it was a trade, and it tore people from their nations in the name of citizenship. Even veterans who served Canada in World War I and II, Indigenous soldiers who fought, bled, and died for freedom, came home to a country that told them they weren't Canadian enough to vote. The last residential school closed in 1996, and until 1960, the very children who survived those schools grew up in a country that legally refused to hear their voice. Today, Indigenous people vote, but the scars of exclusion still run deep, and voter turnout in many Indigenous communities remains low, not because of apathy, but because of history. Because if you're told for generations that your voice doesn't matter, it takes time to believe that it does. Follow at History and Beyond for the truths they didn't teach in school.